So, going to bed last night after having had kind of like a meltdown in terms of just sort of like frustrations and feeling trapped, I was like, all right, man, I don't know if this is like rock bottom, but it's really time to chart the course forward. And I think the biggest thing that I'm doing is building a trusting relationship with myself. It's not about external factors. It's not about, external successes or other people's opinions or anything. It's truly just about committing to seeing a project through, like a specific project, and sort of hell or high water, just taking it to the finish line. And, I woke up with just like a new lease on life, you could say. But I really did feel like some pep in my step. I think specifically because I was like, all right, I'm going to start at this time. I'm going to work for this amount of time. And it's going to be sacred. Like, there's going to be no phone. There's going to be no internet. There's going to be no distractions. I'm going to exercise the dogs. I'm just going to like really wall off this garden. And, even if I'm not writing per se, my only thoughts, my only effort will be to this project. Like, this is all. If I just sat and envisioned scenes for the whole time, that would still be a win. The idea is it's like focused, concentrated effort. And the deal with myself is that this will be the time that I spend every day on this project until it's done. And if I want to spend more, or I want to revisit it at night or something like that, great, that's cool. But primarily we're talking about consistent effort, day in and day out, sort of regardless of feelings. And not only feelings like, oh, I'm excited about the project, but even feelings like, is this good? Or sort of like familiar other feelings I've had where I go, well, this idea is incomplete, but that other idea you were thinking about, that's got even more potential, or that's more commercial, or, you've got the middle, it's a screenplay, so, and I have other ideas, and I also like to write songs, and I like to write short stories, and I like to journal, and all that's well and good, but again, all that other stuff is just like other stuff. I do it, I don't do it, whatever, got a pretty good journaling habit by this point. But so the reason I'm making a video about this is because this is really just accountability. I don't really want to, on the one hand, I don't want to like hire someone to be accountable to. And then on the other, I don't really want to like ask any of my friends to be, my like daily check-in. But I thought, oh, okay, I can just make these videos and, I'll just this will be just like a video journal of my embarking on this project, which really has like kind of two main angles. Number one is finishing the actual screenplay, so that I have it to, share with people or shop around, sell and whatever. And then the other is, I'm just seeing now that my Bluetooth thing on my car is on, so this might be the bad microphone, but whatever. These videos aren't about perfection. They're about sharing the truth of my experience the best I can, as honestly as I can. So number one is getting the script done. And number two is really building the trusting relationship with myself that I can commit to kind of larger, longer scale projects and I can really get them done, which has been something that I have struggled with over time as I allow myself to fall prey or fall victim to what's often described as shiny new object syndrome, which is that, or I could do a short film, or I could make an album, and it's always something new and it's never done. And as Pink Floyd so wonderfully put it, half a page of scribbled lines. Lord knows I've got a lot of journals filled and not a lot to show for it. So that's really what I'm addressing here. And then what I want to do with these videos is just sort of like let whoever this, comes across, whoever's bow this comes across, just let them in on this process for, my personal version of this journey. Sort of piggybacking on my idea of the undisciplined creative at 40, this would be like part 2, learning to kind of discipline himself. And one thing I'm committing to along with this that really feels necessary is giving up porn and jerking off. Just giving them up. Because I really want that extra vitality. I really want that extra oomph to go all into the work. And I don't want to like overload myself with like, it just kind of happens to be New Year's, but maybe it's not just a coincidence. But I don't want this to be some New Year's like, I'll change everything. No. This is just like, I already do write in the mornings, so that habit's already built. And now it's just a little bit more disciplined about what specifically I'm working on. And, the porno thing and the jerking off thing is more just like, I want that well of vitality to just like build and build and build. And, I want that gas in my creative tank applied to this long scale, duration of completing this project, which my guess is a couple months. And it's funny, like already today, just by having that time that I'm going to sit down and do the project, already by having that clarity, it did change the tone of my day significantly. And it's changed sort of like what else I consumed, or like when I was done with that process in the morning, what I was like writing about in terms of, I think part of this is kind of just like letting go some old ideas that I had about myself and my creative process and my future, and just sort of like just putting that baggage down and just saying, all right, like it's like packing for a trip. It's like, all right, what do you need for this trip? What would be a pain in the ass to carry around? What are the sort of things that you're going to choose to focus on? What are the things you're going to kind of like filter out? And then even like I got back to doing Qigong this morning, which like kind of aligns my energy. Even just 5 or 10 minutes of that in the morning, I find to be tremendously helpful. I truly love it. So I did that. And yeah, it just seems like, okay, this is great. This is like piece by piece. I'm just sort of like setting up this chessboard. And, in terms of how today went, there was some, frustration and pain about like, God, if I'm not enjoying writing this scene, or like, do I outline? Do I, I have the script in my head, but is it good enough? And then just sort of going, you know what, man, this is fine. This is fine. And even last night, kind of journaling, I was starting to anticipate these things, the feeling of, oh, like I could do another thing that would be easier or better or whatever, or oh man, like nobody's gonna like this, you know, like the inner critic, and just like kind of anticipating. Like the good thing is, it's like I've had enough practice with all this shit that I can sort of see at least some of the things coming, about, you know, like uncertainty, the inner critic, being sort of tight and rigid with the process versus kind of loosening up and having fun and asking questions. What about this? What if that happened? So, you know, that's all to say, I really appreciate anybody that's coming with me on this journey. To whatever extent anyone finds it inspiring or gathers any sort of gumption for their own project, that's awesome. I'm probably not going to be talking too much about the project itself until I'm done. But one other thing I would add is my email is in my bio. And if there's anybody that wants like a creative kind of counterpart where they can just say, hey, this is the project I'm launching in on, and maybe bounce some emails or something off. You know, I did start a writer's group at one point when I was living in Los Angeles, and I was making kind of a low level living as a screenwriter, you know, touching stuff up, and even got, you know, hired by a production company to write a feature script that's yet to be produced. But anyway, all that to say is I do feel like I have some talents or kind of not gifts, that I hesitate to use that word, but in terms of helping other people find their voice or find what their project's about, or just kind of get back excited and reinvigorated. So if anybody out there wants to do that, that is one of those things that helps keep my gas tank full. So just shoot me an email with whatever it is that you're thinking about, and we can just kind of take it from there. You know, just on the sort of friend compatriot tip. But anyway, thanks for joining me on this journey, and I'll be keeping everybody updated, perhaps every day. We'll see how that pans out. But again, it feels good to just kind of be holding myself accountable, be sort of airing out some of these things, and also keeping some of it private so that I can incubate it in the right way until it's sort of ready for prime time. All right, have a great one.